My mother tells me that Ina moved to Indiana to live with her daughter and son-in-law since they all decided she shouldn't live alone anymore. Mom says this is the table where she and Ina sat for lunch to say goodbye before moving. She is quiet after telling me this. How is Ina? I ask in a little while. Ina is going to wait before finding a senior center, Mom tells me. How long has she been in Indiana, I ask. 4 months, she replies. We are quiet again when our food comes. I am the kind of happy that only comes with good corned beef on rye. Mom carefully eats half her chicken salad sandwich while vowing to have the other one wrapped since it will make a good dinner tonight. The owner comes over and asks how we are. I tell him it is nice to find a New York deli in the Massachusetts suburbs. He says thank you and pats my mother on the shoulder several times. I look at my mother after he leaves, shaking my head slightly. She shrugs her shoulders. What can you do? Her shrug implies. I look at her, called cute and newly petted like a dog. My mother doesn't look sad. She looks very happy. She thanks me for inviting her to lunch and reaches for my hands across the table. Hers feel thin, cold, and bony. I see blue veins on transparent skin. Her smile gets bigger as she squeezes my hands. The waitress comes by and looks at my mother and then me. You are so lucky, she says. She refills our water glasses and leaves. Let's go to the butchery, my mother says as we get up to leave. We walk around the corner to the kosher grocery store. She knows her way around this well-stocked, small store and quickly gathers what she wants. I linger, spend too much time deciding which knishes to buy, and eventually accumulate beef knishes, chopped liver, rugelach, and kugel. I spot the Moshiach, the man who certifies that the food is kosher, at the end of a crowded, narrow aisle. He's wearing an apron and leaning against a bunch of empty crates piled high. He sees the knishes perched on my armload of food. Those are the best knishes, he tells me. Of course, because you made them, I say with a laugh. True, but made here versus sent here from Brooklyn, he replies. He's right, I know, but I had felt like chatting. Do you feel safe here, I ask? No, he says. I had felt vulnerable entering the kosher grocery store moments before, but had later dismissed that feeling when watching my mother collect her food quickly and familiarly, like she owned the place. Now the vulnerable feeling comes back. There should be a police officer out front, I say. He shrugs his shoulders. Yes, there should, he says. My mother, now by my side, speaks sharply. No, there should not be, she says. It's been less than a week since armed Muslim extremists entered a kosher grocery store in Paris, France, and killed 4 Jews and wounded others. Families were in the store shopping for Shabbat. You can't live like that, she says harshly. Even the Moshiach is quick to stop talking. I think you can, I say quietly. We all have the right to feel safe. Suddenly, I don't understand my mother, born in the 1930s, who watched as relatives came to live with her as refugees from Nazi Europe. Aunt Anne, remember her, she asked me once? She talked funny because Mengele cut her tongue down the middle as part of an experiment. I remember my mother telling me this when Aunt Anne gave me a leather purse as a gift once, and I didn't want to say thank you. My mother had pushed me toward her and kept a hand on my back until I politely spoke to her. Aunt Anne scared me with her lisp and her haunting conversations that I couldn't understand. My mother always sat patiently and listened to her. My mother also told me her kindergarten teacher hated Jews. Miss McCarthy had screamed at her and sent her home once. My grandmother, a single working mother, had to take a day off work and she lost a day's wages. My mother was sent home from school after her teacher pointed to a table and asked her what it was. A tish, my mother had said. Over and over again she said tish, the Yiddish word for table. Yiddish was my mother's first language and spoken by 3 generations of women in her home, her grandmother's house. My mother became valedictorian of her high school class and went on to college. Now she's cute and petted. And now she believes you march into newly dangerous places like a kosher grocery store with your head held high. I need a guard in front of my grocery store. My mother clearly does not.